So hey, how lovable is Karrueche Tran right now? So lovable, right? At one point in time, Karrueche was best known, or pretty much exclusively known, if we're being honest, for being the girlfriend of Chris Brown. But 2 years ago, she dumped him after he donated his sperm to the creation of his daughter, Royalty, while they were still together. She's been working on herself and her career since then, but unfortunately Chris forced her to seek out a restraining order against him earlier this year. In February, Karrueche went to court and claimed that he had physically and emotionally abused her, and witnesses backed up her story. After all, it wasn't like it was even a little bit of a difficult story to believe. She got the restraining order. Chris kept acting a mess. It hasn't been the greatest time. But through it all, Karrueche has shown strength and grace, and it's been absolutely wonderful to see. And now, we're seeing some of that in this new interview she did with Wendy Williams. Karrueche appeared on Wendy's show to promote her show, Claws, but of course the topic of Chris was unavoidable. She's asked about how she first got with Chris, and she explains that she met him while working as an assistant to a stylist, and that at first, they were just friends. It was work-related, she says. I didn't have sex with him, anything like that, and then I got into my emotions and fell in love with him. Oh, girl. Then Wendy brought up the restraining order, and Karrueche simply says that it came to a point where I felt like I needed to protect my safety. Wendy tries to make light of the situation a little bit, asking if Chris was knocking on her door and throwing rocks at her window. Looking pretty uncomfortable, Karrueche admits that those things did happen, but we don't need to go into detail with that. Wendy also asks if Chris ever shows up on the set of her show or a club where she happens to be, but thankfully, Chris seems to be respecting the restraining order at the moment, so that hasn't happened. Lastly, Wendy questions if she was abused, something that she's clearly admitted to, but she responds with huh? It's obvious that Karrueche had no intentions of this being a deep, personal interview, and that she wanted to keep the focus on her own life and her own career, and that's admirable. We're sure she'll speak more openly about her experience with Chris when she's ready, but for now, good for her for standing up for herself and only doing what she's comfortable with.